Then there it is.
There it is.
Thank you, Zoom.
Yes. So hi, everybody. Welcome to our Lifecycle Insights Integration with Halo PSA webinar. I am going to introduce myself. I'm Marnie Stockman from Lifecycle Insights, and I will introduce Alex Farling, who is the thought leader behind Lifecycle Insights. So I'm going to let Alex do a little introduction of how we came to be as Lifecycle Insights, and then I'm actually going to walk you through the integration. And then we'll take question and answer. So hopefully that works for everybody. I think I have chat turned on and Q&A, and you can ask to unmute, and you can ping us on Facebook or Discord, like all the ways. If you have a question, please. I always say I'm Italian, so it's not interrupting, it's participating. So with that, Alex, do you want to give us kind of a little background in how we landed on the value add features that we kind of have listed on the screen?
Yeah. So Marnie is flattering when she says I'm the thought leader behind Lifecycle Insights. I thought I was just the guy that complained a lot about features that were missing from my PSA and things that I couldn't do with it. So we've known each other for right, Chief Complaining Officer. So that's kind of where it all started. So Marnie and I have known each other for forever. I'm not going to tell you guys how old we are because that would just be rude. But at the end of the day, we'd known each other forever. And one day we ran into each other and she said, "Hey, I got a bunch of really great developers and we're looking to build something. Do you have any ideas?" And I started complaining. I said, "Yeah, I've got this piece of software and it doesn't do all the things I think it should do. And there's all kinds of data in it that I really can't use. And here I am running an MSP for 16 years. I've got a sign over my desk that says, if you have to do it twice, automate it." And I build all of these reports for my client business reviews manually. I do all this manual cleanup and data manipulation to try and make everything pretty. And at the end of the day, I still just have spreadsheets and Word documents that are obviously hand built and not really pretty. And I'm trying to take technical information and transform it into a way that we can go have a conversation with a business owner that's really about moving the business forward and about business strategy versus about nerd words and flux capacitors and gigabytes, which we really struggle to take the smart guy terms out of the C-level executive conversation. So with that, Marnie said, "I know some guys. This is a thing we can build." And 2019 IT Nation, we launched Lifecycle Insights. Since then, we've added support for many of the common platforms, and that's why we're here today, because we're adding support for Halo PSA, and we wanted to release that to the world. So that's your introduction.
Perfect. Thank you. So what I'm going to show you today is the same thing I would show on all of the other, the ConnectWise Manage or Autotask, right? The integration works the same way for all. And some of the highlights that we're going to talk about are the things that I've listed on the screen. The first reason folks usually find us is they want to automate or simplify their business review process. They'd like one-stop shopping for a few things: warranty lookups, asset management. They want to be able to clean up user accounts. So we also integrate with Microsoft 365. They want a place to have their risk assessments and align that with their projects. And then really to be able to present with a click is a huge advantage in the platform as well. So those are some of the features I'm going to go through, and the value it brings to you is it simplifies your process in building your business reviews so that they are strategic and really help you sell, right? So it's better business for you and it's better business for your clients. And as we like to say, you bet your assets we have the insights you need. So with that, I'll kick in and dive into the platform. So welcome to Lifecycle Insights. This is a dashboard of a single client. So when you first log in, and onboarding looks like logging in, integrating with Halo and Microsoft 365 if you want to put users in there, and then we do a little baking. One thing I'll note right out of the gate is Halo processes a little differently, and they're actually working with us to parallel process instead of single process to get data in faster. But when you first dive in, if you look at the dashboard, I'm going to show you a couple of different clients. You can select the clients that you use in the platform, and you see a data quality score. Because what we often find is one of the first reasons folks come to us is they say, "I have a lot of information in my PSA, but I can't get it out easily and I can't tell where it's missing. So one of the first things we help you do is clean up data quality, because as we built the platform, folks were saying, like, I feel like I'm missing some assets here or there. So we focus on make, model, serial number so that we can do warranty lookups on Dell, Lenovo, HP, Microsoft Surface, Cisco SmartNet, and Meraki. So if that sounds like what you need in terms of warranty lookups, know that that's just a part of the platform. So that's not an add-in feature. We do that so that if your data quality comes over as a 70% and we have access to your serial number, we go do those warranty lookups to get your data quality in the green. Because we know if you're missing your asset information, you're missing opportunity to shore up support and security for your clients, as well as opportunities to sell to your clients and replace assets as they go end of life. So we build that so that we can get you an asset list. So this is stoplight reporting, like everything else on the platform: red, yellow, green. Red is bad, green is good. And blue is where we have unknown information. So we have a missing data report, or you could also always what we call swatch the data. So if we were interested in all of the assets where we were missing information, I could swatch out the green, blue, and red and just get a report that I could download to CSV or Word so that I could update. Or the reverse, maybe I'm concerned with all of these operating systems that are at end of life, and I could download the report, send it to the client, or I could select them and maybe create a project. So we'll talk about projects more in a bit, but if I want to create a project that says Windows 7 should have been gone a long time ago, let's create a project so they understand why we need to do this. So you can see in my last color columns that we've got warranty expiration dates and end of life date. Next to end of life date is a replacement cost. So if these two columns are filled in, we're going to use this to push to a budget forecast. So this is really the critical element, and really what our partners tell us all the time. The first time they deliver an IT budget to their clients, that is forecasting to the future, they're thrilled to have that budget handed to them. And we use this information for that report. As an aside, when you set this up, these default replacement costs, we assign some by default, but you can completely customize them across your company, across a single company to override kind of the default, or even in a single asset. So if I wanted to drill into one of these, and Alex always teases me, typically in our company, we have a replacement cost around $1,200, except I'm a Mac girl. So we have to go into my asset and turn that into an $1,800, $2,000 expense because I just refuse to play the game. And so
there's always that one executive somewhere, right?
That's exactly right. We all have them. I just like to be the use case. So I'm at least busting on myself that way. So here's all the information that we pull over from the PSA and then the warranty lookups. So as device warranties expire, we'll go out and start checking the web to see if you have updated a warranty and pull that into the platform. So that is an active feed that occurs nightly or on demand if we need it to. So if you clean something up in the middle of the day, you can do that in the middle of the day as well. So Alex, anything else on assets before I push to users?
Well, I think the one thing to note is the end of life date, right? So we kind of automate the creation of the end of life date. And back to the story around why we go out and look up those purchase dates and warranty expiration dates for you, because that end of life date is the most important date in the platform, in my opinion, because it's what drives when an asset's replacement cost lands on the budget. So we're using purchase date to say, hey, so many months after purchase, we're going to market end of life out of the box. We're saying 60 months, 5 years after purchase date. We're just going to call an asset end of life and advise the customer replace it. So that end of life date, you don't have to go in and do all that manually. If we can look up the purchase date, we'll extrapolate end of life from it and move the money to the budget automatically. So, you know, the 1 or 2 click budgeting is huge and is absolutely fantastic as far as building that out. Jeff Adler's asking plans for Mac warranty lookups. I'll tell you this, Jeff, We are in the queue over at Apple, which apparently means you get the same email over and over and over
just
about the
got one
process.
right before this call.
Yeah, and so we would love to be able to do Mac warranty lookups. The only way to do them today is to estimate from Apple serial numbers when the device was purchased and guesstimate it from there. There is no actual Apple warranty lookup that works. Even the folks who claim to be doing it aren't really. And to complicate things, Apple changed their serial number standard in 2021, and the old method no longer works on new devices. So we won't be adopting the old method. If Apple will ever let us kick down the barn door, we will produce their warranty lookups with great haste. But we've been working for over a year to try and get Apple in the system, and it's literally like apparently it's just about impossible to get them to work with us. So if you know someone at Apple, give them a shout out for us.
We would love to. Yeah.
Yeah, we would love to. It's not us, it's them.
Yeah. Yeah. So the same notion of sort of the value you can get from this report, you can do with users as well. So there's a lot of cleanup and just shoring up. If you don't know something exists for a client, you can't fix it. And same thing with users. If you're not tracking why users are in the system or not in the system, then security around those users is sketchy as well. So in here, we have aligned, so my demo site's a ConnectWise demo site, but your column would say Halo PSA at the top and Microsoft. And you could look for places of, do I have users that are red? So not in the Halo PSA platform, but are in Microsoft 365. Why? Where are these licenses? Why have some of these people never logged in? I probably need to go back at my business review or in an email, talk about several of these users that haven't logged in 6 months to make sure there aren't licenses just languishing about potentially causing security concerns in the platform. So I'm going to skip over. So you can see here on the left-hand side, I've got company reports at the top, MSP reports in the middle. These company reports all deal with whatever company I've grabbed in the drop-down picker. The MSP reports in the middle are aggregated across all your clients. So I like to bring that up now because I'm going to jump into the Microsoft 365 report where I can check licensing across all of my clients. So I can ask questions. Is somebody paying for licenses they shouldn't be paying for? Thank goodness People R Us is a nonprofit that gets free licenses, or they would be overpaying for 131 licenses that they don't need, type of thing. But this gives you an overview into all of your clients and the licensing that they have available. Similarly, I can search all of my assets across all clients. So if I wanted to grab all of those Windows 7 machines across all of my clients, right? At this point, we should have none, but I can now see that I've got across all of my, thankfully, imaginary clients, I have 196 records. And when I generate that report, I now get the asset list across all clients. So I can then go say, all right, we need to do replacement projects for these specific clients. So you can see how these MSP reports, including data quality, again, span everybody that you have active in the company. In the land of data quality, if your data quality is green, you're probably good to do a business review because you're not missing assets. And if it's not, that's where we need to get some cleanup started. We have several partners that use interns and tier one techs to do the initial cleanup around the missing data quality. And they start often with servers and workstations. Let's make sure our critical assets are up to par first and have warranties on them and have 100% data quality. And then we can dig into network equipment, et cetera. So just some things to think about in terms of your business review process, if part of what brought you here is wanting to kind of dial in your process a little better.
And, just a real world example of how to use some of these MSP wide reports in your business. Worked with an MSP onboarding them Monday. When we went to their Microsoft 365, we found like 40 Microsoft licenses that the MSP was buying for users who were no longer active at the companies they were selling them to. So either the MSP or the company themselves was overpaying. Nobody was willing to admit where the billing error was, and they were off to after our call to go try and track down and see if they were overbilling their customers or if they were just eating it. But 40 Microsoft licenses at somewhere between $5 and $25 a piece adds up pretty quickly and can even pay for your Lifecycle Insights subscription. So we've had multiple customers with that scenario. Yeah. The biggest one I've seen yet was 65 licenses to a tune of over $700.
Yeah.
So definitely some value there.
For sure. Another piece, and this part is manual right now, but you have the ability, if you really want to be able to deliver a full IT budget to the CEO, VC, the CIO at a company, to be able to add things beyond what you deliver for them, things like maybe their phone service, printer, copier, internet, etc. You can add contract information in the platform, including how often how often you bill for it, the cycle, et cetera. And one of the pieces is that you can get notification on the end date or the notice date. So if they're not using your preferred VoIP provider and you know that they need to give notice in 30 days, that would be the time to have a conversation. So are you still happy with your existing provider, or would you be interested in talking to us about the one that we know and can support? So all of these pieces and projects, which I'll get to, land in your budget forecast. So I'm going to hop into the budget so that you can see, we have both a detailed view, and Alex mentioned this. How do you land on the budget forecast? By being read in the platform. We know when that asset expires, and we're going to push it to that quarter. So you can see the workstations, contracts, and projects for April through June 2021 in the platform. We also have lots of reporting options around budget, so you can do the budget quarterly, yearly, or monthly. We often see folks or recommend that they do a 6-quarter detail budget that has every line item, and then a 5 or 6 year annual budget, so that they can really get a sense of when their prices are going to increase. This especially is true if you have someone with servers that are expiring, you want to move them to the cloud, or you need to warn them that they've got some larger expenses coming up in a given year. So to be able to give both of those views is really critical. Now, one of the things I mentioned is the projects. And so I'm going to dive in to show you how you can land into a project. But I'll pause to see, Alex, I saw a question pop up. Did you take care of that one?
Got it. Yep.
Okay. Perfect. To land in projects, we're actually going to go by route of assessments. So if you are currently doing risk assessments, I have a lot of folks that say, well, we've got informal discovery questions. We always ask the same ones, but they're in spreadsheets, or I've got a couple different types of questions that I like, or, we do these questions annually and these quarterly. You can enter them all on the platform. So you could build from scratch, or we offer, what is that? About 10 assessment templates within the platform. By far, the most popular being the Lifecycle Default Assessment, although we see some folks now very interested in the new maturity model type of assessment as we move toward some more of the CMMC type of thinking. But when you pull the assessment into the platform, you can run an event across a client. So I'm just going to show you an example of what one of those events would look like. So I'm going to grab the default assessment in a not so surprising turn of events. We're still stoplight coloring. So red is bad, green is good, yellow's in the middle, and blue would be here an acceptable risk. So as I go through, I'm going to collapse the categories so you can see what kind of a standard assessment looks like. We've got category of hardware, security, continuity, business application, policy and procedure, strategy, and regulatory compliance. As you go through, you can simply check, the radio button to score it. You can add comments that will show up on the written report. So this is where you really define the project, the remediation plan that you have for the client, so that when it shows up red on the report, it says we're going to do the replacement project, and we've included a quote type of thing. We do have the ability to show scoring instructions. So for sure, if you have a consistent assessment, to put links to your documentation platform or the rules. So maybe a tier 1 tech could answer half the questions, an engineer can answer some of the questions. They answer them consistently in the right way. And you can also show previous responses. So if I've given this assessment, or if I've given this question 5 times, I would see green, 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 yellow, red. Now it's time for me to address it. So to be able to share that and say, okay, we've done this and you've been read 3 times, we really need to handle it now. is convenient.
And really important in there with the show previous responses, you can also see all your previous comment history, both internal and external. So if you've had private comments back and forth between some engineers and some comments just about how it's been received by the customer, what they've been told time after time at their business reviews, you have all of that history there.
So this is the view of the assessment report. So we give you a categorical summary, which really gets at the high level. It's very clear that in hardware and regulatory compliance, that's where I have an issue. And as I scroll through, when I dig into hardware, it's not surprising where the issues are because they're in red and they say at risk. And for sure, I think the number one piece that people use in this report is the appendix, where we aggregate all of the assessment items that are red in one place, along with the summary and the comments. So here you can put the link to your to your whatever. You could stick a URL in here. You could stick your comments about which project you're going to include, etc. So that report and that page in particular is what I like as I jump into talking about projects, because when you really get into thinking about what you want to have a conversation with at a business review, it would be take a look at that last assessment that I did and find all of the red items and then decide what we're going to do about it. So if I wanted to grab these 3 items and create a project based on these business pains. So the purpose of an assessment is to get your client to understand the business pain, right? How is this impacting their business? I'm going to pull those pain points to the project, and now I'm going to link it with the assets, like maybe those Windows 7 machines that are causing that business pain. So now I have the connection between what the client cares about and what is your largest concern for that client, and really what they need to do to reduce the pain. They don't particularly care about the device name or serial number of the assets you're replacing, but they very much care that you know which ones they are and can help communicate with their team who is going to be getting replacements on what type of schedule. Inside the project, you can also add labor, materials, replacement costs, recurring costs, etc., to share at a business review. So that is where all of the projects land, so that you can get a good sense of, within a client, all of the projects that you have for them, as well as the roadmap by quarter and year when you're planning on doing those projects. You can see we have status, so you've planned, proposed, in progress, completed, etc., so that you can really track for your client the work that needs to be done. I'll pause there. Alex, thoughts on that?
Well, I think this is super important, because when I had my MSP, the number one reason that a client would be frustrated or upset with us was a surprise expense. And we just didn't have the tools to stay out in front of some of this stuff and do it easily. When we now are able to, with automated budgeting, show them a budget that shows what they're going to spend in 2024, in 2021, and go, that's going to be a bad year, we should be prepared for that one. It's no longer knock knock surprise, here's a bill for 20 grand because Windows 7 died. It's something that we can plan for. It's something we can project out, and our clients are way more likely to work with us when they've had 3, 4, 5 meetings in a row where we've talked about what's coming in the next year or years, and now we're finally to that point and it's time to spend that money. So just by the fact of not giving them as many surprises, we're finding our partners have much higher close rates, much higher alignment rates. Folks are adopting their products and services, and taking their advice on projects and things like that, just because of the strategic nature of how we can present it in a forward-looking fashion, instead of showing up for a QBR with nothing to talk about but patch statistics and ticket close reports and CSAT stats.
Yep. Okay, with that, I will show again in the company reports project roadmap. So now you have the ability to, across all of your companies, to give a good view of where the projects are coming in. So if you can do $50,000 worth of projects in a quarter, that Q3 is going to be rough and we better start looking at an engineer, or we can move some of this to Q4 type of information. The other piece that Lifecycle does, so I mentioned at the beginning that we help automate QBR reporting. We let you build risk assessments, and then we let you align those 2 pieces in a project. Oh, I cannot believe I forgot this. So Back to assessments for a quick minute, because there are definitely two analytics. I'm an analytics girl, so why I missed this, I don't know what's going on. All right. So in analytics, one conversation that we often have are MSPs saying, how can I show them sort of what have you done for me lately? And if I showed an original baseline assessment along with a comparison assessment, so this could be a pre-sales assessment, right? So that is one thing in the platform. You can do assessments, pre-sales, post-sale. I can say, okay, you're at a 44. And if we do this project for you, your overall health for your technology will be at a 73. And this is why, because the business application software that you have are going to go from a score of a 38 to a 92. And your business continuity software is going to go from a 50 to a 94, or practices, et cetera. And then why is hardware dropping? Well, we've got some assets that we know we need to replenish, and a few more are getting older, but we really need to address these priorities first, and then we'll come back and work on these next pieces. So you can really start to stack this. And when they see the improvement, to have regulatory compliance to go from 33 to an 83 has got to make everybody feel more comfortable, for sure.
So in pre-sales, you've got the, hey, this is what you look like today in the baseline. And the comparison is, when I bring my IT managed services stack and lay it over top of your current stuff, this is how you're going to, this is what the end result is going to be. This is kind of a future state. In the reverse scenario, where it's an existing customer who somebody's coming to you and going, I used to call you all the time, but you fixed everything. And now what the heck do I even pay you for? Well, Mr. Customer, you paid me to get you to a 73, but we've got some gap to go to get you where we really need you to be. And we need to continue working on this stuff to make sure that we don't backslide like your hardware is doing as it's starting to age out, or like cybersecurity solutions do, if for some reason you don't have them, if you're not keeping up to pace with the bad actors and threat actors that are out there.
Exactly. And then the other piece with assessment analytics is the ability to see analytics across all your clients. So we have had folks do kind of a sample stack alignment. So I could put my preferred tools in as an assessment item, and then see across all my clients who already has those tools in place. So if you have just purchased a new BDR appliance or some other type of tool that you want to make sure everybody has, to be able to quick red, yellow, green, who has that, who has an old firewall that we're supporting, but we might want to address it in the next quarter. You can really go down and see that creative designs is at the biggest threat right now. And that I probably have some sales opportunities in terms of phone providers, right? Because a lot of folks are not using my preferred VoIP provider there. So that cross-client analytics to get a quick shot of who is using the applications I prefer and are most supportable. I think this is a big win for a lot of folks.
And this can also be used as a little bit of a retention, kind of eyeball catcher too. If you go into overall performance, you'll get a single score that shows which clients adopted the most of your products and services and which ones didn't. If I'm an MSP and I'm managing creative designs, and they only do 53% of what I tell them to do, they don't see the value in my products and services. They're probably not my best or favorite customer. And when somebody comes in and offers them services for $2 a month less, they're probably going to leave me. So there is some just business intelligence to be had here around who are your faithful and loyal customers who do what you tell them to do, who you probably make better money on because their environments are healthier and cleaner, and who are going to be your better customers long term, and the ones more likely to give you a referral than to take an appointment with a competing sales guy.
Perfect. The last piece I want to talk about is the scheduler. So we know that everybody deserves a business review. We don't believe everybody deserves them quarterly. So you'll want to set the proper cadence for them. So over right here, I get a good overview across the company of what business reviews are happening. And at the top, you can see how many business reviews are scheduled per month. So one of our partners talks about the fact that he now does 3 business reviews a day because he's dialed in his process to the point where his intern and tech set him up for the business review, and he just churns through. He says he needs 15 minutes of prep time, does the business review, 15 minutes of rehash time so he can take notes and make tickets, and then on to the next one. But for many, more than 3 in a month would be overwhelming. So to be able to track and see how many you've got going on, and see only those business reviews that you're attending, etc. I can dive into an individual review. So I went into the company, not an individual review. So I'm going to see all of my business reviews historically, and I could dive into one of them, see the meeting notes. I can upload the reports that I built along the way, who attended on their end, on our end, add files, etc. For what needs to happen in a business review. This is also where you can change the cadence and determine, is this one of my, this is my top segment customer, so I need to meet with them monthly, or maybe I meet with them quarterly, but then have one-off meetings, which you can schedule in here as well. So the scheduler allows you to track those pieces. And then the one thing that I mentioned at the beginning was to be able to present your business review quickly. So when we first built Lifecycle Insights, people would say, what components do I want to arrange in what order to build my reporting? And they would go into each of the reports and download and print them out, right? Or heaven forbid, cut and paste them into PowerPoint slides so that they could present them on a slideshow. But now with Report Builder, we have built the ability to compile your components of a business review to basically create your own easy button. So I could build a reporting template from scratch with any of these, and I'll leave that open for a second.
And these are just the individual components from the platform that you can pull into the report builder and put them in the order that's an easy talk track for you. So yeah, everybody would ask me, what order do I do these in? Well, depends on what order is comfortable for you to talk through them in. We're not here to tell you, we're not here to tell you how to do, how to do your business review. We'll give you a lot of coaching, a lot of best practices, a lot of things that are working for other folks. But the thing is, we want you to retain some of the DNA that makes your MSP different from your competitors across town. And that's just something that you need to keep as you work through this. Jeff asked about integration with 365 for scheduling reviews. Today, we do not have an integration with 365. I'm assuming you mean like, what is their scheduler called? It's going to escape me, but I know it's Microsoft Bookings, where you can send out a link and have all that just built out. We are working on some additional writebacks to PSAs that will enable stuff like that in the future through your PSA. But we really want to stick to the PSA calendar because we don't want to have the ConnectWise calendar or the Halo calendar integration pushing on 365 and us pushing on 365 with competing information. So our goal is to stick with the write it all back to your PSA and let your PSA handle scheduling. But that's really, that's something that should be workable in the next couple of months here.
So Alex mentioned that, you can build these, you can stack these components. We have built one that Alex would have used at his MSP. So let me talk through what that looks like. So he has built this, and it works similarly to how you would function in PowerPoint, where you can click through the slides that you could show, right? So as you're building, and you can see I'm getting the full report, including the functionality. As I'm building, I can set filters, I can change my reporting options and switch from quarterly to yearly, etc. So that when I have this, I could rearrange this. So I want my 6-year budget to come before my 6-quarter budget to come before my 5-year budget. I can then choose to download this. So if I download this to Word, it'll print out the full report, all of the pages without having to click into each one of them individually. Or I can hit present mode. And present mode means you no longer have to put all of your QBR pieces into a PowerPoint slide deck, because the notion of people just cutting and pasting all of our reports made us very sad. That would take hours of time that could be better spent doing almost anything else. So you can then flip through, and again, you can still manipulate inside the report so that you can have quick access. And when you're talking about the 5-year budget, and they want to know where these workstations are, you could easily jump down and grab your asset list and show them details, dig into assets, etc. You can include screenshots from, inside your executive summary, look at your contracts, etc. So you can really compile your business review in the order that you would like to have it built and easily display. The other piece is, once you've had this built, so I'm in creative designs right now. When I jump to Get Well Medical Services, it's going to build the exact same report, the exact same way. And I can just go in and update which projects, because clearly I have different projects for different clients, which projects and assessments I've delivered for this client, but it'll build the asset list the same way, the user list the same way. So it really is an easy button on, I want a very consistent business review process, and I want it to look like this.
And as you grow and scale, it's important as the owner to be able to set the standard, and then have your team, as you start to scale this process out to other people, have them deliver the same talking points, the same methodologies, the same reports that you would deliver as the owner. So a lot of this is about, keeping what makes your company special and different, while still allowing you to present something a little bit consistent across the board, across
So
all your
that
team
is,
members.
yeah, that is all the, most of the bells, most of the whistles, right? A few other buttons that we could click in there, but that's a highlight of really what you can get within the platform. I want to show you what it looks like to onboard with us. And everybody, the most popular question is, what do you cost? So we'll talk about that too. So first, actually, we'll jump into what do you cost first. So if you go to lifecycleinsights.io, we put it right on the pricing page. So we price per active client. If you have 300 active clients, but you only want to do business reviews on 5, you would only need to buy the 5 active client package. And then you can upgrade as you go. As you grow, you can upgrade and package. You get all of the features for all of the packages, professional and above. So there's no difference here other than the number of active clients. So trial free for 30 days is where we recommend everybody starting, because you want to dig in, take a look at what your data looks like, get your review process in place, hop on calls if you want us to help you get your process in place, so you can really make sure it works for you before you pay a dime for it, for sure. When you do, click on the free trial button. It will immediately set up your access. And then the first thing it's going to do is say integrate with your PSA or IT Glue. So if you are both a Halo PSA and IT Glue shop, you could choose either one. But what we want you to grab is your source of truth for your asset information. As you can see, Halo is an early adopter. Halo is actually working with us. I mentioned at the beginning that they send data sort of in a single process, simultaneous, and we're hoping to get more parallel so it can load faster. So early adopter is, we will work with you to make sure all of the data loads. We would work with anybody, but we haven't pulled over hundreds of Halo partners yet. So we are interested to work with folks on the Halo piece. So when you get into the integration, let me show you what that would look like. You could then choose your active companies in the company mapping tab. So to log in, you would enter your API credentials, et cetera. That takes about takes about 20 minutes, and then an hour for your for it to run and kind of bake and get your data quality. And then we will auto assign 5 clients based on number of assets, but you can go in and select. So you can unselect or select and save at the bottom, so you can choose which companies you would like. One thing to note, that if you have above the basic plan, assessments only is free for everyone. So you could pay for 10 business review clients, but you could do assessments across the rest of your prospects and client base. So if you're thinking about how you might want to use the platform, and you're thinking, oh, I want to do assessments for everybody, but I only want to do the asset reporting for 10 clients, you only have to pay for those 10. And then when you're in the platform, you will see that we pull over all of your, I don't know if it's called configuration in Halo. I forgot to ask that question this morning, Alex. So we pull over all of your asset names, and then we will categorize them. And you can create these categories, they're called asset types, so that your reporting comes around these particular categories. And then I mentioned at the beginning, when we were talking about end of life and having expiration dates on and replacement costs, that this is where you set the default replacement cost. And if you said workstations at my company, in fact, are $1,200, you could do that across your entire client base, or within the individual company that's in the drop-down picker, or you could go into an individual asset, as I showed you before. So you really can define for yourself what that is going to look like, and to better hone in on an accurate budget forecast, because that's really the strategic value that you're bringing to your clients at a business review. Alex, are there any other pieces in account settings or data manager? I guess I should mention security groups. So you have the ability to create security groups. So it is unlimited users and unlimited assets, right? Since we're only charging by client. So you could get your entire team in there. What a lot of folks do is create a security group for maybe a tech that says, I really just want them to go clean up the asset list. So I create a security group that gives them only access to the asset list. So you have the ability to find a security group, which companies they can see and which pages, which menu items they can have read or write access to. We even have some clients that are using this as a portal for their customers. So they give them read-only access to the asset list and user list, so they can always go in and see which assets are expiring and give any updates on user information right within the platform.
And more, we've got some customers who are giving out access to the contracts tab to a finance assistant or somebody at their client, and having the client go out and upload any contracts that they want to see in the on the budget. So a way to delegate a few little things off your plate there and still collect some information from your customers.
Well, and really not just delegate, but that's a true strategic partnership, right? Like when they're working with you to build that together, I think that's high value. So with that, I'll just pause and see. I know, Alex, you've been answering questions in the chat. Does anybody have any additional comments, questions, concerns, complaints about?
Feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to be unmuted. We're happy to bring you on and talk one-on-one. And while we're waiting for a couple more questions to come in, we'll just roll through a couple of quick housekeeping items. Everybody always asks, what does it look like after I sign up? Do you guys just go disappear and I have to figure all these buttons out for myself? So our onboarding is way different from what you're used to as MSPs. It's pretty white glove. It's pretty hands-on. Even as a free trialer, you get unlimited access to white glove onboarding. We give you a checklist of about 8 items that you need to go through and do prior to hooking up with us. And then as you work through this process, you'll get a couple of emails from us that give you different ways to engage. One of those is just a direct Calendly link where you can come sit down with me and talk through what you do at your MSP, what your goals are for your account management and VCIO process, and how we can fit those goals into this platform to use it to deliver your outcomes. Another way that we do this is with weekly onboarding, with weekly group onboarding meetings on Wednesdays and weekly workshops with our teams on Fridays. So Marnie and I will get together with 20, 30, 40 MSPs, depending on how many are available that Friday or what country it's a holiday in. And we talk through new and upcoming features. We talk about releases that have just come out and how to put them to best use. We bring in experts in the industry and in the field to talk about best practices and things that you ought to be doing. But we're there, we're on camera, we're on mic. You guys are welcome to speak in those as well. They're regular Zoom meetings, not webinars. And we give you the opportunity to engage with us to make this a more functional partnership. So always around, it is a very hands-on, very interactive approach. And we also give some coaching and some guidance as we go. And then last but not least, we offer what we call a boot camp, where we will actually put you or your team members who are going to be using the platform through a 4-week, 1 hour a week with 2 to 3 hours a week of homework boot camp on how to build your VCIO process, how to build out this account manager process, both with strategy and with how to within the platform type stuff. So we'll teach you the best practices that we've learned in the industry as we've built this thing. And then we will also kind of teach you how to use this platform to deliver. So that's my tap dance while we wait for questions. We haven't had any more questions come in. So that tells me we've exhausted them as they came through. So Marnie, if they want to work with us, what do they do next?
Yeah. So I was just going to mention again, pricing page, highly recommend this. Grab the basic edition. If you sign up today, when we send the welcome email, if you send back like, I have a Halo, or I'm a Halo partner, or I think I'm a real saint, or anything along those lines, so we know you're a Halo partner, we'll extend the 30-day free trial actually through the end of August instead of just through the end of July. So it would get you 60 days because we are looking for early adopters and we want to make sure the data looks good. And if we need to go back to Halo for anything, we want to give you plenty of wiggle room and not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pay for it. So we want to make sure you feel comfortable with that. So that is kind of the special for today. Those of you that are on the call, the one I'll try to get the recording out real quickly. So if somebody's listening to it in a bit, they can get it, but we're only offering that today. So you would go to, I'll put it in the chat. I can find the chat among the 9 tabs I have open. I think I did. Again, that would be the free trial. So that is, you click in here, you'll hook up your integration, and to what Alex just said, here is a checklist of some of the work that you can do in the platform. We have a lot of recordings. So if I wanted to say, how do I select my companies? If you click on select your companies, it takes you to the page where it happens. And then if you go back and click the question mark, it opens in a new tab, the directions on how to do that. So you can onboard within the platform, or we have many, many, many MSPs that signed up at 11:30 p.m. our time, and kind of go through this on their own. But we can also, as Alex said, happy to jump on to a conversation anytime. The other piece is in the help down here. He mentioned our workshops. If you want to just take a look at what that might look like, just searching workshops will pull up all of our video content around, the conversations we have, what our releases look like, what our roadmap is, etc. in the platform. I definitely feel like that's a couple more bells and another whistle.
Yep. And with that, if everybody's
Luke put in,
thing?
are you GDPR compliant?
Not today. We don't have storage in local data centers in the EU. I would be interested if you'd send us an email over to info@Lifecycle Insights, just where you're located, because we are looking at the different locales to identify the ones that make the most sense for us to spin up an Amazon instance in. So Luke, if you'll reach out to us, and I'll give you an email address here. If you have concerns about GDPR compliance or anything else, feel free to reach out to us directly. We'd like to know kind of where the clusters of partners who need us to spin up a localized instance are, so that we can get into those markets as well.
Okay, now we're done with questions. All right, well, it was nice chatting with everybody. Again, the pricing page is now linked. I accidentally just sent it to Alex instead of everybody. So now it's in the chat for everyone, and then the email address if you have any follow-up questions for us.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great one.